Welcome to the January 8th, 2019 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
PyroJackFrost.
OldManStompy.
Minty Mitz.
And Luminaire.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
The gang's
everybody all here at once, and
we all hate it.
So anyway, we are here for MAGFest 2019, and we are having a special episode like we do every year. So look forward also to the second half of this episode going up on Thursday in the normal CoreCon slot. So this is like one of our big touchstones of the year. It's the convention that everybody always goes to anymore. Does anybody... I think we pretty much dropped off on every other con at this point, right?
I mean, I visit too many games, but that's for like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, that's not a weekend.
That's really more of like going to the giant dealer's room for me, which is all I want out of it anyway, but I'm not there for a weekend or anything like that.
I go to board game conventions with my wife and her. Yes,
wife.
First time saying on the podcast.
My wife.
Shit! And some of our friends, PAX Unplugged, and the Dice Tower Con.
Oh, cool.
And honestly, like that's what I go to conventions for, is board games.
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I'm growing tired of MAGFest.
So on that note, we've been trying to add like Gen Con to our rotation. We finally went last year. It was our first time. We'd like to go every year if we could like get our stuff together. But like in Indianapolis,
Get your shit together.
Get our shit together. But it being in Indianapolis means it's much more of a hassle to actually go consistently than it is to go to MAGFest.
Yeah.
It's a 3-hour drive.
Yeah, I this is the only one that I go to. I mean, I'm not a huge board game guy. I like them occasionally. If I really like the board game that we're playing, or I like the theme, I'll go along with it. My favorite board game, like of that ilk, is definitely Settlers of Catan, and nobody likes to play it here in our.
I play it because I like playing board games.
But
but it's like my thought with, and I don't mean to shit on anyone else's likes.
Yeah.
But he's about to.
But I'm about to. No, it's like I do.
You're
like
about to show
MAGFest.
how much better you know about board games and how much more fun I could be having.
No, that's not what I was going to say. I would say a lot of the draws of MAGFest are like the arcade, which there's always lines and there's never a good time to do it. Like I was telling my friends, my other friends, that I would want to play like most of the games there, but not enough that I'd want to stand in line that long to play them.
Sure.
The console games, I could just get an emulator and
Yeah.
play them. Like, really, the draw is the board games, because I can't really pirate a board game as much as I could pirate anything else.
And I've tried.
And the friends here...
Wait, I thought you were PyroJackFrost.
I'm PyroJackFrost.
Oh!
We were wrong for a year and a half. I feel like such a jackass.
I feel like the next time I'm on, I should introduce myself as that, but I'm probably going to forget.
The SMT thing just falls apart. No, I gotta say though, like I do kind of agree with you with this. Like I'm not a big board game guy, but at the same time, like I check the dealer's room. If there are panels I'm interested in, I'll go to those. But after that, like the board game area is really the only area I can go to where I can consistently hang out with people and do something.
And just something new that you might not be able to do anywhere else. And I was saying, like, the other reason why I come is for friends, obviously.
Yeah, and they're all on the board game.
Friendship wins it all. Nakama power. But
Nakama power.
but it's like I feel like if we really wanted to, we could just rent a house in the Poconos or something and all hang out.
Yeah, I would actually really love to do that. I've mentioned that a couple times, and I think we just need to take a step forward in trying to plan
And then start
that.
our own MAGFest.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it's all about. I mean,
And then have it get bigger and more popular, and then have to start our own MAGFest again.
we can't even get a house at the Poconos.
And then we're really
because
unorganized.
Yes.
We're really unorganized and
Blackjack
mess up.
Hookers.
Yeah, with blackjack and hookers.
Screw the whole fest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what I like about it is hanging out with you guys. It's
Right.
like the big draw for me. I've got my girlfriend into coming to this. In fact, she's at a panel right now. She's actually taking interest in a lot of the stuff here. So she's a non-gamer and doesn't really like those types of board games or anything.
Well, she was like really excited that yesterday she played her first quote unquote complicated board game.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it?
It was Above and Below.
That's pretty
yeah,
complicated.
I don't know how to play that, so I didn't see what was going on. Because I walked out when you were like way into
It's
it.
like Shoots and Ladders, but above.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's basically a shoots and ladders. That's
Is it
great-
really?
No.
Okay, I was like,
It's the sequel to Candyland.
The sequel, Son of Candyland.
Below Candyland.
The Revenge of Plumpy.
Grandchild nut.
But I really like doing this. If I learn one board game, I'm usually pretty happy. Usually my problem with the board games is like getting into the swing of a board game it usually takes a while.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
To get the rules down.
Well, to get the rules down for
Even
first
if you
of all,
do though, practicing them is still something. Like you could read the manual all night, but then you're like. It's like when you're studying for a test and then you have to take the test. You're like, I gotta do it.
That's one reason why I really enjoy them, because I pick up on rules quickly. Like, if you teach me the rules, I can already start thinking about the strategy that I'm gonna.
Sure.
But I understand a lot of people, they need to play it a second time before they really understand.
Well, that's the thing. You play the first time and you don't know how the psychology and the interaction between players is gonna go, even if you do know the rules.
Yeah.
So on a second playthrough, you're like, okay, this is how other people are gonna play. Now I know how I should play.
Yeah, that was going to say, one of my biggest pet peeves is the first time I play any new game, it's always horrible. It's because, I
heard you saying something about that with, like, Cosmic Encounter. Like, people were enjoying Cosmic Encounter, but you're like, oh, man, I would have done this differently if I had known how this...
Yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing, and
this
so
goes double if everyone else has already played twice, and this is
Right.
your first time, so they're already like, oh, I know how to politic this game, and you're like, okay.
The only part that I like about it is that I have a better chance at winning when nobody knows how to play.
In fact, someone said the first time you played that game with that character is, remember?
The alien.
What game?
You're allowed to...
Cosmic Encounters. We played. So in Cosmic Encounters, there's a character who's permitted to steal.
Oh yes.
Like, so if you don't know that character exists, one person can just take things from the discard pile or like put extra ships out.
Oh, yeah.
As long as you
Yeah.
don't catch them, they
That
can
was
do it.
the one we played in Con Bravo, right?
And
Yeah.
if you do it and you don't get caught, you're allowed to announce that you have this character, and you can move the discard pile closer to you. So everybody has to watch you the entire game.
To me, that sounds funny from a third-person perspective.
Well, yeah, I heard her talking about
in that
this.
situation.
Well, yeah, I heard OldManStompy talking about that, and he said there was like one player who was just drawing card after card after card after card, but nobody noticed because they were all too busy looking at their hands. Like, what's my next move going to be?
That's what Perry
That was
said.
me.
Oh, that actually was you?
Like,
Perry was saying that about.
Oh, I thought
So-
The Mysterious Perry.
well,
Yeah.
what had happened was
Scary.
like I asked if I could look through the discard pile, and I just picked up the whole thing. And I should have just kept the whole discard pile.
That'd have been funny.
Nobody would have said anything.
Yeah, all of a sudden, like, where's the discard pile? You missed it. That's where.
There is none. Not anymore.
My hero power is I can remove the discard pile.
Yeah, damn.
I don't know what
My power is I can flip the table and I win.
Yeah.
The issue with some of these games is that they have like compounding advantage over turns. So if you're not doing the right thing from the first couple
Yeah.
of turns, but somebody is, even if they don't know they're doing it, like there's no chance of coming from behind.
A lot of more recent games kind of get rid of that, but yeah, there's a lot of games, and plus some of them are just way too complicated to learn. There was a game that we were gonna play yesterday, but we opened the rulebook and we're like, no, maybe not.
Well, that's the thing. Well, that's the thing. We've discovered that if we're gonna like, not at MAGFest, but if we're gonna meet each other, like, hey guys, I have a board game. We'll try to like research the board game before we all gather.
Yeah.
But if you're in the board game area, if we brought our own board game, then we could still do that. But if you're looking through the shelves, like, oh, this one looks interesting, but now you have to learn it, and who knows how long that's gonna take.
Yeah, not only that, but some of the board games take like almost half a day to play. Like
Risk.
Yeah, there are certain games that
Twilight
do that.
Imperium takes
Yeah.
like 12 hours.
Yeah.
Depending on who you play with.
Wait a minute.
I like a game that lasts like a half hour to an hour. That way you can play multiple sessions.
Yeah,
and
actually,
get
like this
good
is
at
something
it.
that like Pyro like helped to show us. But like I played 2 card games yesterday, which were the same thing. They were 2 different scenarios of like an escape the room card game. It was called like Unlock.
How was that?
Well, that was fun. Well, they tried to make it as much like an escape room as possible, where you only have an hour. And what I thought was kind of clever is if you make wrong decisions, then the equivalence of doing that in a real escape room would be you just can't figure stuff out. So if you make a wrong decision, it just says lose 2 minutes or lose 3 minutes because you just couldn't see what to do.
It's actually so about that. It's really cool. The one we played like afterwards, you start separated into 2 teams because you're on 2 parts of an island.
Oh.
And as you solve puzzles, one team gets a walkie-talkie, and then they have to make a connection to the other team.
That's clever.
And then you can start talking about what your cards are, but can't show what they are.
Oh,
So you have to like exchange clues, and then eventually you unlock the door that now you can exchange all your cards
That's
because
super
you've
clever.
now. So that was really fun.
Yeah, because with the escape room, like, you have an hour limit, but if you're flawless, I guess you could take up to an hour, but realistically, if you're making mistakes, it's closer to like 30-40 minutes because you might just lose minutes.
Well, those are more the kind of games I enjoy, the cooperative ones.
Yeah.
Co-op ones are fun.
Yeah.
Which is why me and Lotus Prince have been playing so much Mansions of Madness.
Yeah, the
where you're playing against the computer, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, what's funny about Mansions of Madness is you have HP and, like, sanity points, I guess I'll call them, and if you run out of sanity points, then you
well, of course you have HP Lovecraft. It's a Lovecraftian game.
But if you run out of sanity points, then you draw, like, an insane card, which may or may not affect your win condition for the game, so all of a sudden the players can't necessarily trust each other anymore. There's never anything like kill the other player. You can't even do that.
There was a really annoying instance. We were playing with some of the other friends I have in New York, where one of the players went insane. The card he drew says, if you have a bladed weapon and are in the same room as another player, you win. Oh. He had a bladed weapon and was in another room with another player when he went insane. So basically, he went insane and won.
Oh, nice.
It was like, what the fuck?
That's great.
I mean, nobody really wins in a Cthulhu situation.
Well, no, actually, speaking of which, Luminaire and I once did, but Luminaire like 2 or 3 times did. He got a card where his win condition was, like, the game is won, but he has to die before that happens.
I have to have sacrificed myself somehow for it to win, and that's harder to do than you think.
Actually,
I'm okay with this.
And the last time we were playing Mansions of Madness, one of our friends got an insanity card where the win condition was literally to lose. Like, the investigation has to fail. Like, he literally had to lose to win. And it was just like, so, like, we all won and he lost.
You had the most interesting one.
Yeah, I had one.
And totally threw me off with
I had one. I had the first insanity card that we've ever found, which was just fun, which was, I have to start if I speak, I have to start every sentence with no. So I tried, because, like, I'm being, like, contrarian, so I had to, like, either not speak.
Nobody can tell the difference.
Or Pyro would be like...
we have to do this. No, we have to do this.
Well, that was the thing. I tried avoiding that and just saying silence, or whenever Pyro said something whenever Luminaire said something I actually did disagree with, I didn't just disagree, I said, no, this has to happen, no, this has to happen, and it's like, that's a weird way of talking for you, Lotus Prince. Like,
but also, I was insane, and so my condition was I had to, like, I needed a bladed weapon to... but not that I would win at the expense of everyone else.
You needed, like, a bladed weapon and a unique
I'm
object
like, I really want to trade with our friend Daryl, and you just kept saying no. I'm just like, why are you so... I mean, I know I'm insane, but I can't tell you why, but just... But damn it, you're being more dickish than usual. And I put my foot
than usual.
But it wasn't even that I was just disagreeing with him. I kept starting everything with no, and it's like, I heard you the first time. It's weird.
I know, I didn't pick up on it at all.
Yeah, but like Arkham Horror is more directly co-op, but that still is, like, there's no weird insanity conditions, but it's
in the new version, there still is not, but what happens is the character, you lay the character down.
Yeah.
And you start a new character. That player who died starts a new character.
Oh, wow.
And if any player goes to that other player's spot, they have to do an encounter with that character.
That's amazing.
Whether they died or were insane, to, like, possibly get their items or whatever. Okay.
But I was also going to mention, like, regarding the Soulsborne blood and card games, like in Bloodborne, the card game, you're all trying to kill the monsters, but whoever has the most XP at the end wins, so you're low-key competing with each other, so you can kind of sabotage each other a little bit, but you can't directly kill each other unless real shenanigans go down. With the Dark Souls game, it is straight-up co-op, and either the players win or they lose.
Oh, then I really want to play that.
Yeah, but the thing is...
You could play that one player, too.
You could play one player.
I understand,
With more players, it's easier to get things done, but you have fewer... limited uses of the bonfire, because if you could use the bonfire forever, then the game's just broken, obviously.
Sure.
But, like, so with 4 players, I think you can only use the bonfire twice, and the thing is, if a player dies, the bonfire is used because you respawn there, so that's just a use. Okay. Or you could voluntarily go back there and use it, but just like in real Dark Souls, all the enemies respawn, so use wisely. But if the bonfire is used up, then if somebody dies, the game is over. It's not like if all the players die, like if one player dies, the game is over. So you have, like, shared HP.
Bonfire and you can't, it's over.
Well, you don't have shared HP, but yeah, like if one player is weak, then maybe get them out of there and the rest of them will take over. So it's kind of, there's an interesting dynamic there.
That's an interesting
what I thought was funny is that, like, you can't PvP. Like, it's a co-op game, so PvP is impossible. Like, I know Dark Souls has a dedicated PvP, but, like, if you're doing co-op, you cannot strike other phantoms, just like in the video game. It's pretty clever.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this game. I obviously don't know as much as you and Perry about it because you've been studying it. But I'm looking forward to it. I bought it along with the Kickstarter, and
Yeah.
now that we're actually like ramping up to it, I'm really sad that I don't have the expansions.
I mean, if you ever want to do though, it's like I actually like I don't pitch into many Kickstarters. Like I remember on an older podcast, Pyro, you said like you pitch into like a bunch of Kickstarters for like board and card games, but like you just basically get the game.
But I did, and then I stopped basically because so many.
There are a lot.
Sorry, OldManStompy. There's that one crime war.
So, yeah, so that was the very first game I ever kickstarted. It's like
still
the only
not out.
game that I kickstarted.
Oh,
that
no.
Never, aside from Barkley 2, is the only game I ever
Barkley 2
kickstarted that
waiting
never
on.
came out.
But there's so many video games that have just taken forever to come out.
It's funny because they got like a second life. They got a grant from Atlas of all places to continue making the game, and it still isn't out. And that was like 5 or 6 years ago.
What game was it?
Barkley 2.
Crime War.
Oh, Crime War. Sorry, I thought you meant Barkley 2. I was like Atlas. Holy
No,
shit.
there's
incredible.
No, Barkley 2 is still coming out.
I've really only kickstarted games now from companies that have already made a game.
Gotcha.
So because I know that they can finish it.
With me, Barkley 2 is the only one I'm really waiting
Prove your
on.
worth.
Like, and for board games, like it's not late. Well, actually, there's one other video game I'm kind of waiting for, but they have been updating. But but what I was gonna say was with Kickstarters, I don't contribute to a lot, but when I do, I try to get the extra stuff.
When
So
he puts $1 million in, so
yeah,
he
$1
can
billion.
so you can have dinner and spend the night with the developer.
Oh yeah, that yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
I'm
you can get a plane ticket to for American McGee to Shanghai. It's like I'm not. That's expensive.
You're waiting on System Shock, right?
Yeah, but
so
they've been updating. It's not like they went radio silent or anything.
Well, Barkley hasn't gone radio silent, have they?
They kind of have.
Yeah, they have.
As far as I know, on the Kickstarter, they have.
If you tweet them directly, then they'll respond. But their updates have gone silent.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
But I've seen actual like working stuff from them. It's not like
that is true. Yeah.
It's not like they have nothing.
Yeah,
to
I
show
don't know
for
if they're
their
still
efforts.
doing it, but they had been doing streams where they would just show like the pixel art person working on meticulous pixel art stuff.
Not to say that they're not working on it, because I'm sure they are, but there have been many Kickstarters that have gotten to the point where it's a working build, and then they just say, we can't continue this, and they just shut it down.
Yeah, I mean,
it's really lame.
I think it's a lot of people not realizing, hey, we need to like pay for our rent while we're making this.
Yeah.
It's a mixture. Like a lot of people who go into making a Kickstarter are people who their experience is just making the game, not paying
Like
for
running
all
a
the
business?
things.
Yeah.
So they don't know how
Running a
much you have to
business.
pay to
Well,
like run the
there's
building,
a lot of
electricity,
times.
pay workers, Kickstarter
Insurance.
fees, all these other
Well, no,
things.
that's the thing. There's a million times where you see updates where like we had no idea it would be this expensive. Like even the Angry Video Game Nerd, like James Rolfe, when he made the movie, like I mean he made the movie, but like he made a comment like when you look at how expensive some movies are to be made, but they're like low budget movies, and you're like, how the hell did it cost this much? And he's like, well now I know exactly how and why it cost this much.
It's not just that the developers have never been like doing budgets, but also they aren't the producers who make sure everything is going on a timely basis.
That's true too.
So they're like, oh, we can take
wasting
forever. They're wasting a lot of time. They're wasting money because they're wasting a lot of time.
Well, and as far as
From the
movies specifically are
experience.
concerned, even booking locations to film, it's like, oh, I didn't realize there was the location fee, the insurance fee. It's like, oh, damn, it adds
Like,
up.
yeah,
Like, just
especially
literally just being there costs money.
Yeah, and you have to feed people while they're on set. You have to make sure that there's water and that there's like emergency services.
You?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So I have one even worse. I got involved in a game called Paprium. I don't know if you guys know
I've never
about
heard
this.
of that.
Okay, so this is the company that made Pierre Solar.
The name sounds familiar.
It's
Yeah,
an
that's
RPG for Genesis that was made a
Wow.
couple of years ago. What was that?
Yeah, I was gonna say it was one of the last like commercially released Genesis games. It was basically a fan project.
It is a fan project. There's been a couple since then. There's been Tanglewood, I think, the one where you play as a fox, got released recently. But anyway, this company has a shipped product out, and it was considered to be pretty good. They even came out with like a Steam release, so you didn't have to play it on Genesis.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? Like, it's finally here. Go and find a Genesis. Like, jeez.
Well, what they did was really cool. They made they gave the option of a Sega CD soundtrack. It's the only game that it interfaces with cartridge and Sega CD, which is really neat. They did a couple like innovative things with it.
It also now has an actual HD release on Steam. So it's not like it's locked to the Genesis.
Sure.
But the stuff they did on the actual console was a neat thing.
Yeah.
So it was a good game. It wasn't like the best RPG of the 16-bit era or anything like that. But it was cool, and it was good novelty, right?
Yeah.
And it actually came out, and there was stuff. They made an HD version of it later. For consoles and stuff. But now they were trying to make a beat 'em up. So their idea was that they wanted to make a Streets of Rage killer, or something that
Killer. Good luck.
Well, that implies it's currently in like the top of the business.
Yeah, it might come back. They've got Streets of Rage 4 coming out this year, maybe.
Yeah.
No, that looks like it's progressing along as well. But they basically released a screenshot, and it looked really nice. Really nice pixel art and everything. I pre-ordered it. It wasn't even like a Kickstarter.
Okay.
And they have basically fallen off the face of the earth. You can't. Since it was a pre-order and the way that PayPal works, if you don't do it within 6 months or something, you can't get your money back. So they basically are running away with everybody's money. They're not giving good updates. They're not communicating. They're not offering. They're not answering. Their email that you email for support to request like a refund doesn't even exist anymore. Like you get a server bounce when you do it.
There's a similar story, not one that I kickstarted though, but so Super Dungeon Explorer, they made another game, and or two other games, but the third game they didn't release because they were really mismanaging the company.
Oh, okay.
And what happened was technically all the money that was going to the third Kickstarter was meant to pay for the second Kickstarter because they ran out of money from that one.
Jeez.
So they were just digging themselves into a hole, and basically what they did...
That's like an X-Men situation. The guy who made Eternal Darkness... what's his name? Dennis Dyack.
Yeah, but you said you said it's an X-Men situation?
Yeah, so the last game that company made...
Too Human?
Too Human, yeah.
Wow.
They made an X-Men game based off the property. They were diverting those funds to make the Pillars of Eternity game or whatever.
The spiritual successor to Eternal Darkness.
Yeah, the spiritual...
That was a clusterfuck.
Pillars of Eternity is something else.
Yeah,
that's a Baldur's Gate.
It was something of Eternity.
Yeah. It was something similar. I'm sorry, but the spiritual successor to Eternal Darkness, they diverted funds from making the game that they were supposed to.
That was a disaster. Like they actually had two simultaneous crowdfunding projects at the same that's what simultaneous means. But like they had two of them going at the same time, and one of them, if the project didn't come through, then you wouldn't get your money back. With the other, you did. I was like,
but yeah,
I'm not even risking pitching in for this thing.
Back to the story I was talking about. What happened was people were complaining to them and asking for their money back, and then like the company, I think it's Ninja something. They basically sent it like an email sob story to people explaining why this happened, but someone actually found like someone somehow found out like their budget, and there was like a large amount of money towards something that could have, for all we know, based on the wording, could have just been like parties they were running.
Could have been anything.
Oh no.
Yeah. Like entertaining clients or something like that.
Some bullshit. Yeah,
just going to strip clubs basically. Yeah.
I think that a lot of like indie game developers, when they're used to, for example, like Undertale was a Kickstarter game.
Mm-hmm.
It was crowdfunded, but it was based off of some ideas that Toby Fox had. Like he's shown some design documents that he made all the way back in high school, like drawings that he made of the characters. This is something that he's been working on for a very long time. When you're working under the context of a Kickstarter, people expect that you can you say that you're going to make this game and it's going to be a real thing within like 12 to 18 months usually. But these like
one-hit wonder indie games, a lot of the time they're labors of love that these people have been working on for like 8, 9, 10 years, at least thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then
like,
Kickstarter is like finalizing it.
So a lot of the pre-work has already been done.
The
concepts,
scope of the project is well defined.
But also, a lot of them don't know how like long it will actually take to make, and like that's one issue that it has is someone will be like, oh, I'll finish this within like a year and a half.
Well, no, I was gonna say something similar. Is that like a bunch of Kickstarted like video game projects? I mean, not most of them, but a bunch have been by former or even current game devs. Like Yooka-Laylee was by people who made Banjo-Kazooie. Like, we know how to make a video game. So when you see an indie person, they're like, I can do that too. It's like, can you though? Like,
but it doesn't work either way too. Because think of Koji Igarashi, Bloodstained. They had to cancel 4 systems on because they didn't have enough time. Also, Way Forward is helping them now because they didn't have enough manpower to finish the game. And this is a person who's made games.
That's true.
For a long time.
And never mind Mighty Number 9.
It came out on retail before the backers got their physical copies. I could have gotten mine months before the backers did.
Mighty Number 9 is one of the most baffling to me. Because it was made by people that know how to make this type of game. They've been making Mega Man games, like actual Mega Mans games forever.
They though, because it wasn't
Inti
Capcom, it was like
Inti Creates has been making Mega Man Zero games since Mega Man Zero.
And they made their own. They made Asia Striker Gunvolt, which is which is like really good.
But it's probably because they didn't have Capcom breathing down their backs to make sure it gets out. So they're trying to perfect things.
That was exactly.
And then they ran out of time.
I've seen extended.
So they had to rush it to the end.
Well, no, they make their own game. Azure Striker Gunvolt. They've made three entries at this point.
They even made a Mighty Number 9 version of Asia Striker Gunvolt, and they're all better than Mighty Number 9.
Well, that's the thing. People don't complain that the game is bad. The game is mediocre.
It's mediocre though. It's not like
so the game functions, but the amount of the crowdfunding efforts, like the milestones, the fact that they promise multiple different...
They promise like every possible
more and more
console.
versions, which
the console
the game itself, promising rewards to backers that they didn't end up ever getting to them. Oh, Deep Silver publishing it when it was initially a crowdfunding thing. And then that whole thing where they tried to start another Kickstarter for Red Ash.
Which failed miserably.
I think that was legit, but the timing and circumstances of it made it look so shady. I mean, I thought that too. I was like, no.
It's very, very bad management.
No, but like regarding what Pyro was saying earlier, though, this might not have quite been the case for Mighty Number 9, but going back to that Eternal Darkness spiritual successor, like everyone was like, but they made Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, but they made Eternal Darkness. Those games were freaking brilliant, but they were also GameCube exclusives, and Nintendo was probably holding them with a very short leash the entire time. Like, you better do this right. Like, Silicon Knights by itself is too human, and that's like notoriously poorly handled game.
You know? Well, the funny thing about those games is that they may have even been loss leaders in order to attract people to the console, because those were console exclusives. Like Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, I mean, they had a blueprint for a game already. They were remaking a game, right?
Yeah, and, but they kind of, but like, I mean, they knew what was supposed to happen in the game, but like, they applied Metal Gear Solid 2 to a PS1 game.
Yeah, but my point is, you don't have to start from scratch. You're not inventing a world. You're not inventing mechanics. You're not inventing characters.
The worlds. But as far as putting the game together, you are creating from scratch.
Sure, but
maybe not. They could. I mean, like when you think about
Metal
it,
Gear Solid 2 engine, maybe
if they have the code from 2, they don't need to change that much.
But 2 is PS2 only or Xbox and PS2.
It's GameCube.
But you have a lot of like the math involved. You just have to upgrade. I mean, I know it's not as easy as making it sound. And it's not. Like, obviously, the textures need to be improved. You need to change some of the numbers because the characters might be bigger, like all that. But you have some of that work already there.
Yeah.
But in the end, really, this is why I don't back video games on Kickstarter anymore, and why any board games I back are ones from people who I already own a game from. So even if it takes longer, I know that they can do it. Because there's like this one, like the people who make Near and Far, like the guy. There's one guy who made Near and Far and Above and Below and like 5 other games.
Are they also word and opposite word?
No. It's just those two are in like a series together. Kind of.
Okay.
But anyway, all of his other games, like he's made enough games that I trust that this will come to completion. And there haven't been any issues during it. Like they keep like giving updates regularly. And
well, that's the thing that I find concerning is when the updates become irregular or non-existent, because like even games I've been waiting for, like Dark Souls is out now, but at the time, like they were giving very regular updates, and it was just pretty like it was
it's
comforting.
And a lot of times because they it's hard balancing the PR and getting the shit done.
Well, and it could also be difficult to make an update if you don't really feel you have anything to update. But like honestly, I wish they would do that. Like we don't have much done, but we're still here.
Instead of
just
like
to tell them what we did,
and instead of like they
that
should
time.
like from the beginning they should be like, you know what, so like just say like we're gonna have regular updates every week. So even if we finish something on a Wednesday, you gotta wait till Friday to figure out what it is. Don't just update it when something happens. Update every Friday, and then on Friday be like, no, there's nothing new. We're still progressing. Everything's good.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, even
Radio
if
silence
you
is
have,
bad.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Even if you don't hit a milestone, that's okay. Like I'm sure you weren't taking a vacation for the whole last week, so like we were working on stuff. Like okay, fine.
In MAGFest, there's a section that has like all indie games that you could see that like a lot of people work really hard on certain things, and then there's like some games that have like boxes that are like, you know, the wires are still popping out, you know, work in progress and everything. You definitely know that that's the indie game section, because like there's still a lot of pixelated stuff. Some of the stuff, the controls don't work as intended, or when you're playing a lot of the games, you see that you're doing movement, but maybe it's not as intuitive or anything like that. So when I went through the indie game section, it was you should definitely see it's not as polished as like, you know, the games that are
a lot of a lot of the indie game showcase, they're like custom arcade cabinets.
Yeah.
That show you like what the developer was thinking when they're trying to make this game, because this is the only way that you can play it on like I don't have a a shell of an arcade cabinet all the time for me to play brawlers or like or like 2D fighter games. But yes, also sometimes they just don't work because they've been at a con for 3.5 days by the time.
That's true. Yeah.
There's one game here, I don't know what it is, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet. But the controller that people are playing on is just a giant table that does nothing but single buttons.
Wow. Okay.
I don't entirely understand what the purpose of it is.
40 buttons.
Yeah, there was this one game that I played one time that was basically like manipulating a spring, like a joystick, but it was just like that was kind of like the gimmick because it controlled different than any other game.
It goes all the way up.
Yeah.
Like you know how you hit the hammer and then it goes ding and top.
Yeah.
But not really.
Yeah. It was a lot like that. Yeah.
This is an interesting point to Kickstarter style like sales of games, because a lot of these games, they're like so esoteric that you have no idea they're fun until you play them.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to pitch that to somebody and raise like $100,000 to make a game about.
Yeah, trust me, you'll like it when you try it. It have already funded me. Yeah.
That game was a lot of fun. It and basically it's just like an LED light strip and a spring.
But I think another thing that shows good faith of people who are making Kickstarters is if they're at cons, or if or like with board games, if they have like a print and play version. Like, hey, this might not be the whole rules, or this might not be the final product, but hey, print the rules out. Here's some like paper copies you can print out on your own and just play to try it out.
You can even beta test it.
Here's my prototype.
That's what I was going to mention. Like at PAX East in like 2012 or 2013, the guy who was making Neverending Nightmares was there, like at the indie show.
Oh yeah, we played it.
Yeah, and
just got to talk to him.
And what was interesting was that the PAX demo was not very much like even the alpha. Like, I mean, it actually still played quite well, but like the alpha was very different, so it was interesting to see the progress even from pre-alpha, which was still quite playable, and you made it to like an ending point, and the alpha kind of kept going after that. It was just, it's cool. Like, I don't care if the game's finished, like you said, if they show if they show up and there's a work in progress, and maybe the game's playable, maybe it's not, but here's the idea. Or sometimes they show games that have already recently come out. I'm the indie guy, I made this game. So it's cool to see different stages of games when you're at places like this.
I just assume that I'm gonna get those games whenever Beyond Good and Evil 2 comes out, you know.
Remember that time it was going to be on PS3 and 360?
It kind of speaks to like the really broad problem in that like I can go down to the indie game showcase and I can walk away with business cards for like 9 or 10 games that I can buy like right now on Steam for $5. You know, to add to the 200 games that I already have on Steam, which is actually pretty small by the standards of my friends' Steam collections.
I have 1,000.
Why would I then, unless it's really really good, why would I then go pay $10 to a Kickstarter for a game that might not even come out when
right.
I am
and that's why. And that's another reason why I wait with video games, is because one, it's always going to take longer than they say it will. Two, it's probably not going to look exactly like they're thought, because when they realize how much work might be put into and whatever. Three, because I might as well just wait till it comes out. I have so many games.
You have other things.
That's the thing.
It might
is
just
like
not be good.
There was a portion last year, like 2 years ago, where some of the games that I was backing started to come out, but I'm like, I actually can't play this because I have other games I'm playing, so it goes into my backlog, and that's not. You might as well just. This game I know is kickstarted, so I might miss out on things.
That's
how I wish you all the best.
Well, that's like how I am with retail. It's like I could play it right now for full price, or I could wait till all the DLC is out and still pay half price for it.
Well, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm saying like I would want to kickstart a game sometimes because here's like this Kickstarter exclusive you get.
That's why.
But then when I get it, it's like in my backlog. When I might as well just wait until it comes out. I don't have anything to play. Oh, this is a game that I was interested in. I was thinking of kickstarting. I'll just buy it now. I don't get the Kickstarter exclusive, but it's not the end of the world. It's not like it's game-breaking stuff that I'm going to get for waiting. I don't care about the game.
And
enough
sometimes
to
it's like
stuff.
a box to have the game in or something like that.
I am happy though of some recent developments. I mean, Shenmue 3 actually has a date now. I don't know if you guys knew about that.
Yeah, I probably should play Shenmue 2.
Yeah, so
I'm not gonna
play one.
Okay.
Two is actually a bit snappier than one. It's like
from what I hear, it's quite snappier than one. One, like, I played it on the Dreamcast several years back, but even though it wasn't like when it was new, I played it like 3 or 4 years ago. I still forgot just how much of a slog it is until like the end of the game. Like, I know it's supposed to be like a life simulator, but the time mechanic in that game is just so frustrating because it's like, wait until 2 o'clock to go to this location, and you have to wait.
That was like how started talking about time mechanics.
Yeah.
That's how I felt with oh crap, what was the name? It was made by Tri-Ace. It was a game where you can go around kicking things.
Resonance of Fate?
No, sorry. It's it was a PS2 game.
Ephemeral Fantasia?
No. But anyway, there was a time mechanic where all the characters like did something.
Radiant Historia?
Radiant Historia.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's what it was. But anyway, like you could kick things. Like if you kick a person, you'll fight them.
Okay.
You can kick items and things might pop out, but everything had a time mechanic, which I thought was cool, and it was kind of like Suikoden, where you can collect people to join your party.
Yeah.
But the problem was that since time went on, which makes sense in real life.
Yeah.
But I don't play games to be in real life.
I know.
But what happened was all the characters had their things they did every day, and I wanted to go and collect characters like I do in Suikoden. But because it's like real life, if it hits 2 p.m. on that certain day, it does the next story segment. And I'm like, shit. And I couldn't do what I wanted to do, and it was so, like I don't like games with time.
Real life
things.
Sucks. Oh yeah.
I wasn't in the most difficult side quest episode, but Radiant Historia was among, not because it was hard, but because it was aggravating. There's one like pretty high level. So like all the characters are in guilds. There's one like pretty high level member in 2 of the guilds that are like dueling with each other, and you have to get both of them. You have to do something where you only have like a 3-day time limit to do it, or else they both are missable for the rest of the game. Which also means that like the top level guild leaders are missable for the rest of the game. You can like totally screw up your whole game by not doing this one.
Terrible game design.
Fuck that noise.
That's just like a way to sell strategy guides that like.
Yeah, right.
I mean, come on.
So this was the same era that like Square Enix was explicitly even underselling their strategy guides because they're trying to sell people to buy their like play online service. So if you bought the Final Fantasy IX strategy guide that had come out like a little bit before Radiant Historia, maybe a few years before, it had in it like keywords. The guide was not complete. You could type the keywords into the website and it would tell you the rest of the guide.
That's so scummy.
That's like.
And this is why Prime is out of business.
This is why people use game facts, like generated by people.
I know. How about somebody just writes the actual guide? That's what I want.
I mean, it's
ridiculous.
It's like surely made for like Japanese audiences where more people have access to internet, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, even outside of that, like when I buy the guide, I expect to have it. Like, what is this? Now I gotta do step 2?
What is this?
Yeah, I thought I bought a guide. I did.
You did. It's just a DLC.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, that is true. DLC does make some guides outdated, but I mean, we're talking with not that situation. It's just an intentionally incomplete guide. That's bullshit.
And that is the show for this week. We will return with the rest of the discussion on Thursday for Corrective Consciousness. So be sure to check us out then.